welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are really excited today to be here with another episode of On Friendship. This is the monthly show that we do where Dr. Alysa Lucas and I talk about a Hallmark movie, and we try to think of it from the aspect of relationships and friendships. And I'm filmed with Rachel Wagner, and Alysa is here.
Hello, I am
Yes.
here. It's happening.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of what to do, and we actually had a plan, but it ended up it's not coming to streaming until May, the one that we're gonna
Oh,
do
yeah.
next. And so then I had to come up. I was like, "What's a good one that Alysa will like?" And
Well,
just why don't we do Snow Bride?
I
Yay!
just I just love it because I'll get these text messages, not about the streaming one, but it'll be like, "Have you watched the movie yet?" And I'm like, "No," because I watch it literally right before because I don't want to forget anything.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
usually it's like, "Sure, whatever you want to do." And this time it was like, oh yeah, I haven't even looked up that last movie. I was gonna, I'll do it when
yeah.
it comes, And then this time you were like, what about this? It's about gossip. And I was like, I don't need to know anything else.
Yeah, so
Sign
we
me
are
up.
there's a movie that I saw at Sundance called Together Together, and it's starring Ed Helms, and it's about a platonic relationship that he has with the surrogate of his child, and it's really sweet, and I really enjoyed it, but it's coming to theaters in April. That's why I thought we could see it, but it's not coming to streaming until May. And I didn't know if Alysa would have access to theater or what was going on. So I just figured let's wait and do that one next. And Snow Bride, yay!
Yay! Hey, I like having a plan. I
Yeah.
like the idea of doing like a newer movie and then having like the completely platonic sort of tale behind it. And I'm also like, Snow Bride. Like, that sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
It's it it's called pivoting, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, this is what we learn. And this is what I teach my communication students. You always got to keep going, adapt, adjust, fluid, flexible.
That's
You
right.
got to make it
That's right.
happen.
That's right. So I told you when I was pitching this movie, I said that this is a fan favorite. We have some tweets that we'll read at the end, but yeah, this is one that a lot of people really like. Even our friends over at Deck the Hallmark, Grumpy
Mm.
Dan, who hates all these, he likes this one. So
That
that's
is
something.
a hot review right there. You know
Yeah.
it's good when.
That's right. And this was from way back in 2013, a million years ago in Hallmark time.
Way to make me feel super old.
That's right. That's right. And this stars Katrina Law, and it was written by Tracy Andreen. And Tracy Andreen is the sister-in-law of Katrina Law.
What?
Yes. So
What?
we actually last Christmas, last December, I believe, or November, we had the two of them on for a joint interview.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
so
so
cute.
yeah, I don't know if you saw, I messaged you the interview, but yeah, that's
No, I
really a
must have
fun
missed
one.
it. Oh
Yeah, it's
no.
real. I'll have the link in the description if people missed it if they want to listen because it's really fun and you get to hear from both of them
That sounds
and
amazing. And I
yeah.
just have to say, y'all have so many episodes that I need to quit my job so I can listen to them all. My job really gets in the way
Yeah,
to
we
listening to Hallmarkies, and I'm really kind of upset about it. So,
yeah, I mean, we figure we don't expect although some people do, bless their hearts, they listen to every single thing we do, and, we are so grateful to those, listeners,
yeah,
but
amazing.
most people just pick and choose, that's kind of our format
Yeah,
that
and
we
that's
have.
awesome too, right?
Yeah,
Like, take what you want, leave the
yeah,
rest. That's what my
that's
dad
right.
always said.
That's right. And our goal is we always have Monday interview,
Mhm.
Wednesday is our what we call our regular episode of the podcast. So
Mhm.
that's usually a recap or preview or
Mhm.
one of our episodes or something like
Mhm.
that. And then Thursday is our TV recap. So if Winkle's the Heart or Good Witch or whatever. And actually no, we've been doing that on Tuesday. Thursday we've been doing Heartland. Yeah, Heartland.
I mean, this schedule is like jam packed. This
Yeah,
is like the Super Bowl of Hallmark every week.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. And I get to
Uh,
play a little part of it, and that makes me
I
happy.
love it, and I look forward to it. I really do.
Yeah.
So this was directed by Bert Kish, and I think the reason why this one stands out for a lot of people is this has a little bit of a sarcastic edge. It has a little bit of humor
Hmm.
that you don't see nowadays typically with Hallmark movies. They're starting to change a little bit. You know, like we saw that Five-Star Christmas.
Yeah.
We saw a few others this last season that were a little more madcap. There was one called Cross Country Christmas. So I feel like things are changing maybe, and we're going to get a little more slapstick. There was Mix Up the Mediterranean in February,
Hmm.
but I think that's why a lot of people love this one. And I've heard a lot of people that this is their sort of gateway drug to Hallmark movies. This is the one that got them started.
Mine was Christmas Joy and a
Yeah,
cookie
that's
crawl.
right. The cookie
So
crawl.
I every
Yes.
day I'm like, God, I want some snickerdoodles. I bet if there was a cookie crawl, I could get some.
They made like 300,000 cookies or something.
Well, this one had gingerbread cookies,
Yes,
so
it
I
did. With
mean,
black pepper. I
white
don't know.
pepper.
Or was it white pepper? Yeah.
Yeah, see, this is why I watch right before I record, so I never miss a beat. But
Yeah.
I still am like, wait, what was her name? Who is she? You know, that one
Um,
person.
yeah. And probably the big name when this came out was probably Patricia
Yeah,
Richardson
I was
playing
like,
the
hey, I
mom.
know her.
Yeah. From Home Improvement and other things. And yeah, Katrina Law, she had been on Spartacus, was her kind of big breakout
Oh. Oh.
show. Yeah, which is very different from Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. And I just like to point out that every episode I learn something new, little like trivia. So enjoy it, love it.
That's what we hope. And she's done a lot of different shows. She's done Hawaii Five O,
Hmm.
and but she did a Christmas movie this last because she had a bit of a break
Hmm.
at Hallmark, and then this last year she did one called Christmas with the Darlings, which
Mm,
was cute, and that was
that's a
also
cute
written
name.
by yeah, it was also written by Tracy Andreen.
Hmm.
And Tracy is just the best. She is
Ah.
so funny. She has a lot of kind of meta humor, kind of winking at things. She did a really good one called "It's Christmas Eve" with Tyler Hines and Leanne Rhymes. Believe it or not,
Mm.
that one was really good. And there's Christmas Getaway. That's a good one. That was one of our watch along patron watch alongs.
Ooh, fun.
And yeah, and then she also did one called All for Love, which I really enjoy with Sarah Rue, who's
Yeah,
really
so this is the first one I've seen with this particular actress in it.
with Katrina Law.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she only has two.
And then the
Uh,
writer is who you're talking about. I'm
the
sorry.
writer, yeah, the
Gotcha.
writer, Tracy and
The
Dream.
Tracy and okay. I'm with
Yes,
you now. I should take
I got
notes.
it.
I feel like I'm
She's
in
great.
class. I'm like, okay, there will be a test on this later.
Oh, she wrote. I forgot she wrote Christmas Joy.
She did not.
She did. Yes.
Oh my god. I have to
Yes.
meet her. I just want to be
We'll have
like,
to have her again for patron watch along, and you
I
can
could just be like, you make me want cookie curls every day. I love you. I'm like fangirling, and she's
yeah.
like, security, even though it's like virtual
Virtual.
security.
Yeah. So this movie, it's about a woman named Greta Kane who is in search of juicy gossip as a tabloid reporter in Los Angeles. And so she is sent to find some dirt on the Tannenhill Sons. This is like basically like the Kennedys or something like this family.
Kennedys of the West Coast.
Yes, she and her competitor at the gossip rag are sent by their old school editor to get the scoop, but on her way, she crashes while she's because she rushed over there,
She's like,
and
"Oh my god."
yeah. And she's wearing nothing but like really short shorts and a tank in the middle of the winter. And so she has her friend's giant wedding dress. And so she ends up crashing into their house and all kinds of shenanigans ensue. And we'll go over it in more detail. But what overall did you think about this one?
My first thought was that dress is horrible. No,
Yeah.
okay, we'll talk about that in more detail. I really enjoyed this movie. I think that when Rachel selects movies, she selects movies knowing, I think perhaps, that I don't have deep knowledge
Right.
of Hallmark, and it's gonna be one that's going to be like a favorite or a fan favorite or something interesting to try. So there's like two ways that Rachel comes at you, like everyone loves this one, or let's try something new. And then we watch that movie with Bly Danner, and we're like, what the hell
Right.
happened? So when she's like, it's a fan favorite, I'm like, okay, I'm in for good business here for the next hour and a half. And I always feel like right now is the end of the semester for me, and pandemic teaching is really hard, and I'm really stressed out. And I was like sitting here for an hour and a half watching the movie, and I was like, this is what I want my life to be like, laying on the couch and watching movies.
Isn't it just the best though watching a Christmas movie off season? It's so
Yeah,
relaxing.
like it was just like enjoyable. And so, as people might recall, I teach communication classes, so that's why we come at it from like a relational or friendship point of view. But then even to have like this layer of like gossip because of the gossip rag, and sort of, in my opinion, like the deception and ethical implications of pretending to be someone to get a scoop, like it's all the things that I would cover in my class. And so I think my students would be like, we are watching a clip from a movie called Snow Bride right now. What is happening? And I'll be like, look, we could talk about gossip. We got deception. We got, it's
Yeah,
got all the goods.
it's just and you have brothers and you have
Oh, oh,
yeah, all
oh
different kinds
god,
of
yeah.
relationships going on here.
But what
Uh,
I what I also enjoyed, before we, you give your sort of overall review and then we get into it, is that I enjoyed that she sort of had the hot business job, if you will,
yeah,
and he was the one who wanted to be a writer, which I guess still might be in line with Hallmark storylines. But like, I don't remember a whole lot of movies where, the guy wasn't some like,
bad man of business
yeah, or
or
like the
or small
barista.
town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the barista who's gonna force you to drink some drink that you didn't order.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's true. There's definitely she's from a sort of a powerful position, and yet he's also, this celebrity or whatever. So it's an interesting dynamic that they have. And I really enjoy it. I think it's a really fun one. It probably wouldn't be in my top 10. I noticed in a lot of other people's, but I still really like it. And I do appreciate the sense of humor that it has. And I mean, it starts out, you kind of know exactly what you're getting into with her friend. And they you look like meringue exploded.
Okay, that was the one thing I was like, maybe I need to restart this movie over and figure out what was that dress about. Please, like it was. And okay, let me
It was
preface this by saying to each their own, but
right.
no, no,
So
no.
I think if I heard right, I think that it was her soon to be mother-in-law's dress.
Oh God,
And so
I did
she
miss that
wanted
part.
to make them happy or whatever.
It
And
was.
and I love it later when she's like, "Oh, you love that man. You are really in love with this person."
You know the love is real when you will wear the most god awful dress. Like, I don't plan to get married, so I don't think about wedding dresses. And I would
Uh,
be like, I would have to tell my friend, like, I can't be in this wedding with you because I don't want pictures of me next to it.
yeah, I mean, it really looked like something from the '80s. That must have been where she got, married,
That
where the mother-in-law
mother-in-law is really trying to see how
big
much
puffy
this girl.
sleeves.
Well, here's the thing. I love Anna Green Gables, but that was like puffed everything. And I think that mother-in-law was doing some sort of like secret test to be like, let's see how far she'll go.
Yeah, yeah. I I mean, I think that I wonder if some people, they just plan on having they're just gonna make everybody happy for the wedding, kind of like in My Big Fat Greek Wedding,
Yeah.
and then just get married by themselves and other things. Or like Jim and Pam, where it's
Yeah.
just like, "We got married before,
Yeah,
just
which
so
is
we."
so sweet. That
So
was
sweet.
so great. And this just reminds me, I do have an episode about people pleasers on Best Forevers if
Ah,
anyone needs
that'd be
to
good.
hear that one.
Well, it's interesting because the friend says to her, as soon as you start to feel bad for them, you can't write about them anymore. And then
Yeah.
she adds, and these people don't deserve sympathy.
Yeah, okay. So when we meet her, I did not like her.
Mhm.
I did not like her at all. But then, yeah, they sort of set it up. She's in competition with Wesley the Weasel, like her competition. And there's something
Mhm.
about it that does bother me. I can't say that I don't like maybe pull out a little popcorn when you hear about some gossip, right? I think it's like
Yeah.
human nature. I think we're all like gossip is bad, but then we mostly participate in it. And I've looked at magazines and that sort of thing, but I think at a certain point in my life I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I can't imagine just like consuming it, but then you're also doing whatever you can to get the information and saying that these people don't matter because they have money or they're rich or that sort of thing. And like, although like I get it to some point, like when we're talking about billionaires that people made like trillions of dollars during the pandemic, and we're all like, hey, can we get another stimulus? Like that, yeah, okay. Maybe we can judge a little bit. But the idea of just like saying they're not human, and so therefore we can do whatever we need to get the story. So right out the gate, I was kind of like, she gives me yucky feelings. But
Mhm.
then she goes to pick up her friend's wedding dress because there was some sort of smudge on it. I say, leave the smudge. It made it look better. Um, so they get the smudge
Yeah.
out. As she's putting it into her car, she learns from her assistant that her competition has discovered that this family who was coming to town or whatever showed up a week early. And so
Yeah.
she has to get there. So she stuffs the dress in the trunk. And then she gets lost. And when she crashes her car, she's like, it says private property, but then there doesn't seem to be anything around. And this is the moment when I started to like her. It's because it's cold. And the only thing she has is that big puffy dress and she has to put it on. And I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
now we're starting to get to like who she is as a human.
Yeah.
And like
It
ever since then I liked her. After
Yeah.
that, I like, even when it was sort of like a setup or whatever, I felt like he was in on it too, so I didn't feel so bad. But at the beginning, I was just like, this feels gross and mean. Hallmark, when is this gonna end? Stop being mean. That's for a lifetime.
Yeah, this could definitely be a lifetime. It would just change the score and like a few little details here and there.
And there'd be a murder.
Yeah. But but the thing I think that's interesting is if you look at it, because this 2013 versus now, and not that we didn't still have Twitter and other stuff
Yeah.
then, but it's still it's different. It's changed a bit. And I think that it's interesting because I think that having access to the lives of these people, these celebrities, these whatever. In one way, I think it does humanize them. You know,
Yeah.
we see their kids, we see their, we see their tweets, we see what they think about different things, and their Instagram,
Yeah.
things that you just didn't, that you had to look at something like the Inquirer or something like that in order to get that kind of, or Us Weekly or whatever. And I think so. In one way, we have humanized the celebrities and
Yeah.
people in general, but then in the other way, it's just a person. You have this sort of barrier with the computer that dehumanizes people, and you can treat people
Yes.
horrible, and you can send death threats. Not that people didn't get death threats before, but there's just
Yeah.
something. I mean, if somebody as low level on the totem pole as me has gotten death threats, it
What?
I can't even imagine what somebody
Oh my
like,
gosh.
that somebody that's actually like more of a real public figure, what has
Yeah.
happened in their lives and what that is like. I can't even. I mean, when it all happened to me, uh, I I thought that I had pretty thick skin, and I remember just thinking, like, I don't know how someone like Ryan Johnson, who, everybody hated, or a lot of people hated, The Last Jedi,
Yeah.
and just trolled him super hard. I just can't believe that man's still on Twitter. I don't know how
Yeah.
he did it. I don't know how, like, that's incredible. I can't imagine what that would be like. And
No.
so I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic, I think, that we have now, where it's like we humanize people, then we also dehumanize them.
Yeah, and see, I'm a college professor, so like I get student opinion surveys every semester, and I try not to look at those because I'm like, well, it might ruin my day, or it might
Mhm.
just ruin the next 5 years. So maybe I won't read the and I get relative like I get really nice like but I'm like, oh my god, oh no, they
Yeah.
didn't like something.
Well,
So I
and
can't even imagine. And then that's why I think I feel bad about any of the web pages I've been on when I was younger, getting like Us
uh-huh.
Weekly and that sort of thing, is because there's something we talk about in my dark side class, which is about sort of like the dysfunctional or toxic communication. And it's interesting because we can dish it out more than we can take it, right? So that's the thing. And then when you add in the ability for people to create fake accounts and just be able to say anything, it's like it's just a hot mess. And like,
Yeah.
why should anyone have death threats over something they wrote or a movie they've created? Like, it's just it's
It's crazy.
we're back to times of public shaming and I think you're exactly right. When people can hide behind a computer screen, they certainly feel much more powerful and free than they might be in front of your face. And that's the thing, is most of what people say and do they wouldn't say. So it's interesting, like she's doing, they're trying to get the scoop on this family, and there's the two brothers, and one of them must be getting engaged after their dad died. So it's like, oh my god, like the dad died, now let's we now that drama and excitement is over, ugh, right, now we have to come up with something new. And it's like, but if you go in front of those people, would you actually be able, like, would you, if you produced an article about someone, about their life, with maybe, secondhand information or rumors, like it doesn't have to be true, right? And then you read it to them and feel good with yourself? And I don't think most people would be able to do that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And yeah, there's definitely the people who court TMZ and court the paparazzi, and your
Oh
Paris
yeah.
Hilton's type and things like that. But it's just, and even in my situation where I expect to be criticized. I'm a critic. Like,
Yeah.
if you think I'm stupid, I welcome that. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't have any problem with people that think I'm dumb or think my opinion's dumb or any of that. I'm a
Good for
critic.
you.
If I'm expected to criticize things, I expect to be criticized. That would be hypocritical of me.
Yeah.
But don't
However,
yeah. when you say you're gonna take an AK-47 and kill
Oh,
everybody in my next screening, that's taking things to another level,
that's
and that's madness.
horrible. Oh
That's
my
madness.
god.
And like I said, I can't imagine what
Oh,
people that are actually famous, how they
yeah.
deal with it, because it was awful. And so there is that kind of maybe a darker edge in the
Yeah.
undercurrent of this movie. I mean, it never really dives too deep into it, but
No, I
there's a
think
little bit of it there, kind of about how we treat people, and she starts to feel bad,
like
and I think
almost
that's the key.
immediately.
Yeah, I
Almost
think that's the key.
immediately. Which I loved. I was like, yes. I mean, not
Mhm.
everyone was on board with that, but like she definitely changed interacting with these people. And I think that you make a good, a good point is that there are people who deserve critiques for the critiques they make, the policies they make, the things
Right.
that, the things that they're doing, but it should never go there is a line that I think is easily crossed, and I think that what we see in this movie is that it's almost as if our main character Greta is in the wrong business. And one of the things that Patricia's, is it Richardson? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, thank
Mhm.
you. That she says later, she's the mom in the movie, not
Yeah.
Greta's mom, but the two
Right.
guys' mom. She says everything happens for a reason. In some ways, I'm like, I bet her car crashed there and she had to wear that stupid dress because she had to learn that this job isn't for her. And
Mhm.
so in some ways I feel like it was a,
Yeah.
a lesson learned, if you will. Not that I,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it really fits in sort of the Christmas movie kind of genre too, because you mean you have sort of your Scrooges and your Grinches and your sort of thing that's sort of an underpinning of this type of movie. And I mean, even something kind of more screwball like Christmas in Connecticut, where she's a reporter in Christmas in Connecticut, and she has to stage this fake relationship. And so I think it kind of fits within this, because I think one of the criticisms you could have about this movie is it's not that Christmassy.
There were gingerbread cookies,
Yeah,
and
there's
he
some.
he at one point had on one of the ugliest sweaters I've ever seen, and then I was like, oh, it's not an ugly Christmas sweater
Yeah.
party, but we got one.
Yeah, there's some, but it's not as much as some others. But I think the overall transformation of her character is very Christmassy.
Yeah, I'm on
Mhm.
board with that. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And so she crashes her car, and she gets on the wedding dress, as you said, and then she ends up passing out, and Ben he carries her inside and helps her. This is played by Jordan Belfi and Ben Tannenhill. I thought that was a good name. She did a good job.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
that Tannenhill.
I do feel like that, like one of the things is like, okay, so they're supposed to be like the Kennedys of the West Coast, right? I
Yeah, or
don't
like or the Romneys, something like
Yeah.
that, I'd say.
I don't, there are sometimes I think in my limited viewing of Hallmarks, and I understand budgets, but sometimes when people are supposed to be like the really rich people, I don't think it comes across that way, and
Mm,
maybe like set design and attire and things like that. But and I thought that was the case with this movie, where I was like, she looks like she's more of a Tannenhill than they are. But I do think that the name really had
that was
that
a good name.
that
Yeah.
like it that for me, I was like, yeah, I'm on board. But I
Mhm.
was like, that sweater, nah.
Yeah.
I was very judgy of the clothing in this movie, although I thought she always looked fabulous. Even
Yeah, she wears clothes well. She's
yeah,
one of those actresses that just looks good in I feel like almost everything.
yeah.
And, and she ends up in his flannel. She said, "I've never been so happy to see flannel in my life." And she's at the caretaker's cabin,
Mhm.
and we get to meet the caretaker later, Peters.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have this little cozy time, which is pretty fun. Um, and he's there writing his novel, and
Yes.
there's no phone, there's no nothing, hardly anything. And he's good. He tries to make her breakfast, but he burns the bacon, and his brother is coming to town, and so he says, "Come up and go to breakfast with my family." And so she's sitting there, and in walks his brother, played by Bobby Campo, who I love, and his old Ben's old fiance,
Mm.
Claire Sinclair, which is another good name.
Yes. The names are great.
Yeah, Tracy, way to go. Claire Sinclair is there, and it was the old ex fiance of Ben is now dating
Nope.
Jared.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope.
And
Nope. Nope.
not only was she the ex-fiance of Ben, but she also made a pass at their father, which we find
See,
out later.
this is like a no from beginning to end. It's a
Yeah.
no. It's a no, 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 no. This is a no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no. And I was like, okay, Claire Sinclair, great name. You remind me of the soon to be stepmom, but maybe not, of The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Meredith.
yeah, Meredith. She reminded me very much of that. So didn't like her right away. And then I was like, who? Okay, again, my students in the fall are gonna be like, we're watching Snow Bride, and be like, listen, the brother showed up, hasn't seen since the last
Now
time they saw each other was dad passed away.
yeah.
Now, what I'm going to do is surprise my mom, who loves Christmas and is probably missing her husband, and my older brother, who was kind of upset maybe about the ending of the relationship. What I'm going to do is just show up and surprise
Yeah.
everyone.
He claims, "Oh, I tried to call you. I tried to call you," and he doesn't have a Ben doesn't have a phone, a cell phone.
You didn't
And
try hard
so
enough.
didn't try hard. Yeah, I
Karen,
agree.
you Hedwig from Harry Potter, get him to fly something over, maybe some smoke signals,
Yeah, yeah.
snail
Or
mail.
an email. I mean, come on.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is
you did not
2000
try hard enough.
this is 2013, not 1955. I
I
mean,
know. Oh my god.
it's
I was like, oh no, he did not. This is what
and
you don't do.
From Publishers Weekly's best-selling author of A Simple Wedding comes a story about second chances, starting over, and most of all, the importance of friendship. Lee Duncan's brand new Sugar Sand Beach series is the perfect escape for fans of Pamela Kelly, Rachel Hanna, Debbie McComber, and Amelia Adler. It's heartwarming, sweet women's fiction at its finest. Read the first book in the series, The Gift at Sugar Sand Inn, available now exclusively from Amazon and in Kindle Unlimited. For more information about Lee's next release and to download a free sample of her work, visit her website at leeduncan.com.
yeah, and from the very beginning, Claire Sinclair is very suspect and awful and
The
terrible. I mean, the fact
worst.
that she would do this, and uh, so he's about to introduce Greta to the family, and she says, "Well, we just started dating." and and so then she comes up with so then I liked that they had the whole scene where they're like, we got to get our stories straight. A fake relationship requires stories, and that's
Yes.
another very Christmassy thing, because that's a thing, these fake relationships, and it's so fun. I love it. It's such a ridiculous trope, but it's
But
fun.
here's the thing, I think this is the one time where I would be 100% on board with the older brother going, he was going to introduce her to the family like, hey, this person crashed their car and she's just going to come eat and, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Jared comes in with Claire St. Clair, Meredith, vibes, right? And is
Yeah.
like, she's my girlfriend. And then he's like, yeah, this is my girlfriend too. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yes, Ben, I am on board.
Yeah.
And
And
I love like the immediate, okay, I was adopted. I was this is how we met. This is the, and I was like, yes, this is a great little, it's not like it kind of reminds me of a montage scene, but not like, it's just like this quick banter back and forth. Like
yeah.
they're just like instantly on the same page. Like I think some level is like, this is my way to get in. But at the same time, I feel like she's like, he helped me. I have to help him,
Yeah, I think so too. And I love when she kisses him, and because we don't want it to be the first kiss in front of these people, and
Yeah.
he's like, I can do the kissing way better than that.
He's already like, dang, she's already said my kissing is not
Yeah.
good.
And so then they go out shopping because she needs to get clothes because she doesn't have any clothes. And
Yes.
Claire Sinclair buys the gingerbread house, and she is super rude about it. And she says, deliver it at this time, and don't tell anybody why you're there, because she's going to present this gingerbread house, which is totally ridiculous because if you had made gingerbread houses are like so hard to make. First of all, they're so hard. I mean, from scratch, and you would have all of the supplies and the
Yeah.
like. If she had supposedly made this, there would be like flour everywhere, and like
And
it
she's
doesn't make
all
any sense. Of course, she didn't.
she's like, when you all go to bed and I get some quiet time, and it's like,
Yeah,
voila. And I'm like, nah, here's the scenario. I would love to help contribute to this event that your family does every year. And, I'm not quite a baker. So I talked to someone in town and I bought some cookies that'll be sent in. And isn't that just a lovely gesture? Like,
yeah.
just doing the gesture to be lovely and to help kids and raise
And to buy
money.
yeah, and to buy the gingerbread house. I mean, nobody can make a gingerbread house. It's, like, so hard.
Okay,
Uh,
can I admit to something? So this
yes.
Christmas, I spent by myself because of the pandemic,
Mhm,
and which it turned out lovely. My parents zoomed for the presents and breakfast, and then the whole family zoomed
mhm.
later, and I felt like it was one of the more stress-free Christmases, and I just laid on the couch watching Home Alone, and I watched Soul and all that so
Yeah,
it was a
right.
nice day, but I was like, let me do these things to make Christmas more fun. So I like ordered macarons for like, or macaroons, however you pronounce it, for like Christmas Eve. And I got like
Mhm.
special Christmas flavors. And I got like, make a charcuterie for like this time. And, like I did all this stuff. So
Yeah.
one of the things I did was I got one of those pre-made gingerbread houses from Target for like $10.
Nice.
No, because I'm like, how many degrees do I have? How old am I? And I could not even get the things to
Oh,
stand
the
up.
kit.
Yeah, the kit.
Okay, the
And
kit.
I was like, how do you do this? And like, my cousin's kids are always like every year, like, check out the gumdrops. And I'm like, how do you put this together? And I failed.
You're
And
like,
so I
"How many
just,
degrees?"
I'm
But
like,
you're like, Ben in this. He's a total disaster when they're doing the kind of cute cookie
yeah,
baking montage.
can't do it. I have to buy
Total
them.
disaster.
It was a total disaster. So I just ate parts of the kit on its own and was like,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm gonna watch the newest Grinch.
That's the thing about they're always showing in these Hallmark movies people eating the gingerbread houses. No one eats a finished gingerbread house. It's got that the royal icing that's super hard and it's not doesn't taste good.
And I don't like
And
hard cookies. Like I like soft cookies. So
yeah,
even
me
like
too.
gingerbread cookies, I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, me too. I'll put them on an ornament on the tree.
Yeah, I ate all the gumdrops though. I'm not gonna lie about that.
But the brothers are decorating once they get home, and the younger brother says, "You're not the only one who cares about this family, Ben." And then they get into like a fist fight, like if they're like fighting, you,
They're like in
which is
their
funny.
30s and late
Yeah,
20s, like, and then the mom comes in and is like, go to your rooms.
yeah, that was great. I loved that.
I was like, good, because
Who
they
can't
can't
relate to
even.
that?
Actually, if I was the mom, I would have been like, Jared, you can leave trying to date your older brother's ex fiance, and then bring her here the Christmas after your father, my husband, passed away. I don't think I'm ever gonna get over it. Like, it's just awful.
Yeah,
Here's the
yeah,
quickest way to start a conflict in a family, and then you end up in your own rooms because you get in trouble.
yeah. But I don't know. I can relate to that dynamic. I mean, my family hasn't been all together for Christmas in a long, 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 long time.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the family, I can relate to. But uh, and they have a good conversation between Ben and Greta, where he's talking about he doesn't want to admit that he is a novelist, that people think he's going to run for office, and uh, he uh, he says to her, "It's easy to say when you don't have anyone to answer to,"
Which was
and
really rude.
which was rude, but it was good because it kind of balanced the relationship. Like they weren't. It
Yeah.
wasn't like she was the only one that was kind of lying. He was lying
Yeah.
too, which made it more acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she goes back, and it was really cute when he says, she says, "Night, just Ben," and he says, "Good night, Snow Bride." That was
Yeah, I
cute.
was like, okay, when they get
Cute.
together at the end of this movie, that will be like their nicknames for the rest of their
Mhm.
relationship. But when she
Yeah.
was like earlier, when she was with the family trying to act like they're dating, she called him like Pookie, and I was like, okay, now y'all need to work on your pet names for each other. Pookie
Yeah.
doesn't work for me.
Well, so then she is looking for the wedding dress, and so she's going all around the caretaker's house trying to find it, and she finds all of these letters. So then she finds out from Peters that Peters was in love
Mm,
with the mom, Maggie,
yeah.
and they had this relationship. But then she fell in love with the father of the that had passed away, and so then Peters kind of becomes Greta's confidant in this whole
Yeah.
thing. So she tells him everything that's going on about the fake dating, and she says everyone is much nicer than I imagined.
Yeah.
And so that going back to kind of the humanizing kind of thing.
Well, and I think it's interesting because she says that in a couple different ways several times in the movie, and that like throws people off a little bit. Like, oh, I thought you didn't know the family, or what did you expect of us? Like that. Like part of me was like that makes sense because they probably get people in their business all the time, and then like the paparazzi type things, which I don't think paparazzi are as popular now as like I think of like Britney Spears era sort of situation. I don't think it's like that
Mhm.
anymore, but like I still feel like they probably have people who are trying to find out information, and so like I just part of me was like I like that they said that, but then I'm also like, well, of course you're the Kennedys of the West Coast. People are gonna have perceptions of you or expectations. And I mean, it just really goes to show that you don't know based on an article that might be based on a
Yeah.
rumor, who someone truly is. And that even for ourselves, like if you think about Ben, it's like he didn't really know who he was, right? It's like he's dating the socialite, Claire St. Clair. That didn't work out. It's like he's the oldest, so he feels burdened to be like his father, but he wants to be a novelist, but he can't like really admit it. So like it's one of these. To me, it comes down to like what the movie is really about is like do we even like know who we are? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or that like it's about like sort of discovering yourself, because I think there's a discovery for them all. And when you mentioned the confidant with Peters, I thought that was really interesting because Jared and Ben both describe different scenarios throughout the time when remember when Peters would do this or remember that, like, or he would talk to Greta and it's as if like Peter's was always there as the confidant, because their dad was always working.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is sort of like what his nature is, or what like skill we're all like really good at something, even if it's not something like technical skill, like I can use this program or something. It's just like he has that ability to take care of people. And I think you see that even in sort of the worst moments for Greta, that he still like is gracious to her. And I really liked him, and I was like, so do him and Maggie like
I know. I wish there was more payoff with that.
I was
It's
like,
maybe implied at the
so
end. I think it's implied at the end, but I wish there was
I
like he
don't want
proposed or something at the end.
implication.
That would be
I
cute.
want actual confirmation.
Yeah. It would be cute if they had like a proposal or something like that at
Oh,
the end. That would have been cute.
because
But
I'm like, obviously, Peters and Maggie, hello.
yeah. And like I love that in the Parent Trap when
Yes.
that's so good. But he asks her if his writing is cheesy, and she says it's beautiful. I never pictured you as the Bridges of Madison County guy. So, and then they have a near kiss where they're dancing to Silent Night,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
I watch movies now with caption, like TV and movies with captions
yeah,
on.
me too.
And I really enjoyed it. I didn't always do it, but then I watched the girl with the dragon tattoo, the Swedish version, and so I
Uh-huh.
was like, I don't know what's happening. So like I watched it, and I've just like used it ever since, and I really enjoy sort of getting people's like, even like the sighs and the gasps and all that's
Yeah.
included. I think it enriches that experience, and that sort of thing. And but like when they had the music at the bottom, I was like, whoa, we getting fancy with Christmas music up in here, aren't we? I was like,
But it made
Silent
me laugh
Night. I was like,
because
of all the Christmas songs, like on the list, I was like, what?
my friend Dory, who's been on the show many times,
Yeah.
been on Harmonica's podcast, she's hilarious, and she hates that so much when they have them slow dance to like spiritual Christmas songs, like hymns. Yeah, it's just
Sorry. Like just Silent Night,
like
like
Oh
the
Holy
vibe.
Night.
Yeah. Like the vibe of it, I was like, what? But then yeah, I forgot like the spiritual side of it. So yeah, that's a whole nother layer. I was just like, the vibe doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But I was like,
And I don't know why they don't do something like I'll Be Home for Christmas, because that's not like spirit, it's not a hymn, but
yeah.
it's a little bit
Or can't
slower and a
we
little
like
bit.
can't we get like some like that, some instrumental jazzy that has a little Christmas ding ding,
Yeah.
like jingle bell, but not jingle bells, like just a little. Can we get someone to write something that we can use in about 75 different movies? Just, a little interlude. Like, yeah, I like literally did a double take with my ears and my eyes, because I was like, what is happening?
Well, so then we have the Christmas ball, and she gets a red dress, and
Which was
she looked
beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah, she looked great. And you have Claire being super flirty, and then he dances with Ben, and then Ben dances with Greta. And Claire is basically trying to use the family to become famous, become a celebrity. And so Greta and Maggie kind of have this conversation, and she says, unlike the Kardashians, we don't want publicity. That's the
Yeah.
difference. And
Yeah, that was
so
I thought that was a good quote. And like in some ways I think Claire St. Clair, I just feel like I have to say her full name every time,
yeah.
is that she wants it for like self-serving, malicious reasons. And at least for Greta, although I didn't like her philosophy, at least it's like a job, which I
Yeah.
know, like to me there's a slight difference there,
Oh
and
yeah.
we could debate that, but like I feel like it was just sort of skeezy and scummy, and she was trying to find a way to bring Greta down so that she could look better, when it's like, girl, what you're doing is worse, because you're working yourself, father rejected, other brother didn't work out. Now you're going for the third brother. Third brother now you going after Peters? No, he's taken. That person is Maggie. She just wanted to be a Tannenhill so bad. It's like, you know, instead of trying to be and force yourself into another family that you think is going to bring you some sort of level of happiness or success or fame or whatever, why don't you figure out a way to do something for yourself for that fame or status or
Mhm.
whatever? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
She's just
gross.
kind of just like grinding it out of the job. This is not something she has like passion for
Yeah.
or whatever from the very beginning. Like it's just a job. And so she kind of learns. But what did you think of her friend at work? Uh I thought she was really funny. I liked
I
her.
wanted
Julie.
I wanted more of her. And in fact, I want a spin-off show, spin-off movie with Greta and like her and Ben are together and Maggie and Peters is
Yes.
together and like Jared maybe find someone or not. I don't really care. But I mean, he's fine. He needs a few years to grow up and then we'll
Yeah.
reintroduce him into the
But now,
story.
especially because Maggie now owns spoiler alert to the end of the
Yeah.
episode, but
Yeah.
she now owns the gossip rag.
Yeah.
So
She's going to change the vibe,
yeah,
but like, so can we move to that part so that we can talk
yeah.
about it?
Well,
Because
but I
like,
really liked when she said, "I hope you are keeping track of your ongoing deceptions, maybe a flow chart."
she was so funny from the
But
very beginning, and I feel like she like I could imagine working, maybe not working for a gossip rag or anything like that, but working in an
mhm,
office with someone like her with that personality, and they're the reason, even if you don't like the job, they're part of the reason why you're there. Like they make everything better, and she was amazing, and I thought she was really funny, and I wanted more. And then like I have a whole plan for a spin-off movie where it's sort of like a buddy duo with her and Greta as they take charge of the new
yeah,
Pulse.
yeah,
So like I have some notes for that writer, Tracy.
yeah. It's gonna be like the new Oprah magazine or something like that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I liked her a lot too. She was really fun. And then they have this whole like scene that was very flirty where they're like there's this pillow fight and they're tickling each other and you just don't see that kind of they almost kiss, they get really close, and you
Yeah.
don't see that kind of intimacy if you can even call it intimacy, but you know what I mean? That like flirting, you don't see that as much anymore in these new movies. They're very chaste
I
these
was
days.
like, when I did watch that, and even Jared walks in and he's like, "Stop it! You're gonna make me blush." And like, but yeah, and so that made me think that like, hey, that like they were on a couch together, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, whoa,
So
whoa!"
so then Claire comes in, she spills the news because she had seen the coworker and her
Wesley the
talking.
Weasel.
That's right. And so she spills the news and then Greta says I'm sorry and she'll make sure that no story is written and then Peters gives her back the wedding dress and
See,
Claire yeah.
I was just gonna say I love that moment because so this is basically where Claire is letting them know that you know Greta works for this gossip magazine, and that's obviously Ben had confided in her that he thought Claire St. Clair only wanted to be with them to get that attention, and felt like there was a lot of stories that were placed in the gossip magazines when they were dating, and then when they weren't, he said like there were less, so he kind of saw her as someone who might have had a hand in it. So then what that means is that this is really hurtful to him because now here's a second person where it feels like you know he likes her but it feels like he's being used, right?
Mhm.
And so don't like Claire St. Clair, but you know, okay, you're in the wrong, Greta, like, or at least you she tried to come clean like 20 seconds beforehand, but like maybe it should have happened a little sooner.
Yeah.
And but in that moment it's sort of all crashing down around her. She doesn't feel good about her job. She doesn't feel good about like what's happening. She realizes sort of the damage she's done, and she excuses herself. She leaves, and then Peters comes out. He's like, I don't want you to forget this, because he knows how important that dress is for
Yeah.
her. So even in like a really low moment, like to me, I think that's really, it didn't feel like, hey, get your stuff and get out of here. It felt like, I know this is important to you and please take this. Like,
Yeah.
and that was one of my favorite moments. I was like, thank
Yeah.
you, Peters. But
Yeah,
also,
he was good. Yeah.
I wanted to be like, you cleaned it up. Could you have like burned it instead?
Well, didn't he fix the sleeves at least?
Yeah,
Weren't they? Yeah.
it's sleeveless. The puffs were gone. Well, the puffs above the waist were gone. The puffs below the waist were
They're still
still
there. They're
plentiful.
still there. Uh, and so then we have a whole scene with Claire telling Ben that she loves him. And he says, are we that interchangeable to you? Because she'd gotten engaged to Jared earlier.
Yeah.
And so then she and he says she says it's always been you, and he says that's because my father wouldn't play, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
bird.
snap.
And so then she starts throwing the snowballs. I hate you, like I'd marry a stockbroker.
Yeah. Well, she says that about Jared, but I love how she throws a snowball at Ben and he's like,
Yeah.
really? She's like, I hate you. He goes, really? Because a minute ago you said you loved me. And I was like, get her, get her.
Yeah, yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
Then she throws the wedding ring off into the snow, and they have to find it in the snow, and she leaves. And later you see her trying to tell the story to the gossip rag, and we find out Greta has been fired because she won't do it, but then the story is published anyway, but it's because Claire is the source.
Claire.
And
Ugh.
yeah. And Maggie ends up talking to Lou, who's the boss of the paper, and she bought Pulse, and she evidently supposedly knew who Greta was all along.
Background
And
checks, baby.
yeah, she said she was testing Greta, which seems a little mean to her sons.
Well, the thing
She
about it
knew.
is, she comes out with a major play. And here's what's interesting about it is that Maggie also has history with the editor of the magazine. And so maybe stories covered over time, et cetera, et cetera. And like, yeah, some woman just comes in and so there's two women now who are dating her sons like completely to surprise. She at least knows what's wrong or the problem with Claire St. Clair, but she doesn't know Greta. And they are, I've said maybe for the fifth time this episode, the Kennedys of the West Coast. So there is some level of protection that I can understand. Like I'd be like, okay. So yeah, she drops the
Like, I could see testing Greta, but why would you test your own children in
well,
this thing?
how does she test her
That
children? I
well,
missed
because
that then.
she knows this is she knows who Greta is,
Yeah.
and she doesn't tell them.
Because
She
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 wanted to see, she was still testing Greta though, because she wanted to see if she'd take the information about Claire St.
Mhm.
Clair hitting on her
Oh, yeah.
husband and see if she would write it in there. And so if she did, then it's like, okay, we can't trust you. Now I have to talk to my son about you. Or you didn't do it. So now I'm going to buy Pulse and say, you know what? I think the gossip rag is on the way out. And it would seem like having Claire St. Clair contribute to a false story about the family would be completely inappropriate now that I
Yeah.
own the magazine. And what power there is. Think about that. You just pick up your phone and you're like, I'm buying Pulse. Like, who does
Yeah,
that?
I know. It's
Except
true.
the Tannenhills, the Kennedys of the
And
West Coast.
that's right. And the movie ends at the wedding of her friend, and they end up getting back together, Ben and Greta. And so that's the end of the
Yay!
movie. I think it's a real fun one. I really enjoy it. I would give this one probably a 4.25 crowns out of 5.
I might go a little bit higher, 4.4, but that dress, y'all.
Mm.
And the one thing I have to say
But
is
it's
like
supposed to be kind of hideous, the dress.
it's awful. Like I was like, what year did this come out? Like I literally sat down in front of the TV with my dinner and I was like, is this an 80s Hallmark movie or what are we watching here? What did Rachel
Yeah.
send me? How is this a fan favorite? But one of the things I do think about the movie, like I think there's so many different relationship layers that I enjoy, like
Mhm.
the Maggie and Peters and the brothers, which they're in competition, and like it makes you wonder how like that was created. And then like the relationship with the mother and the sons, and then you have Claire St. Clair and like how they allow her, within a 10-foot pole of them or whatever. And then there's the relationship with like Greta and her coworker, the one that's funny and amazing, and then the one that's the weasel, and then you have this friend whose wedding it is. And like the one thing I want to say is like her friend who she's going to be in the wedding for, and she has her wedding dress. I was like, would you tell your friend about the dress a little bit sooner? Like,
Yeah.
I get that you are on the trail. Like, you're like a bloodhound sniffing out a story, right? But you also have an self-defined, or she says it earlier, I think she calls her friend a bridezilla. You're just going to be like, ruin the dress and then be like, yeah, I lost it. Like, when do you tell them that? The wedding's
Yeah.
in days. In days.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
actually, because of that, 4.3.
Okay. I did get some comments on Twitter
Oh, I want to hear.
about the movie because I knew it was a favorite I wanted to ask. But we have Hallmark Heartbeats podcast. She says, love this movie. It's hilarious. Lopria, she says, it's one of my favorites and one of the movies that originally hooked me on Hallmark movies. See, I told you it's a gateway.
Gateway drug.
It's well written, well acted, and has excellent banter. It will forever remain on my DVR.
Oh,
One
cool.
and that's the thing with Hallmark movies is that we all have our sort of our DVR
My
list.
mom
And
has a DVR list. Oh my
and
god, this is
when a new
amazing.
good one comes out,
Yeah.
a lot of times I have to think, okay, which one am I going to delete for
Which
this
one?
new good one?
Which one of my babies am I going to
Yeah.
throw
Because
out?
a lot of these are not on DVD
Yeah.
or streaming, and
Yeah.
so you have to just hope that you have it on the DVR.
Oh
Anyway,
my god, bless
uh,
your hearts. Those
yeah,
are some hard decisions, I
it
bet.
is. It is. So One Kiss Me Forever podcast. She says this is on the short list for us too. And
No.
Brian Ayre says it started my love of Katrina Law.
Oh.
And Now Playing Hallmark says it's one of my absolute favorites. Of course, it could be because I absolutely adore Katrina, but yeah,
Oh.
I love it.
Yeah.
We love Katrina Law. Laura Ann Marie says the best. Can watch it over and over again. Love Snow Bride and Just Ben.
Just
And yeah, that's so cute. That scene.
Yeah.
Snow Bride and Just Ben. And a bunch of others. I love it. Sarah says, Sarah Darklina or Nothing says, one of the few I try to watch every year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are a bunch of people who love it. Donna
Man.
H says, this movie is a 10 in my book. Love it. So,
I have a question for the Twitter folks then and or
uh-huh.
listeners is like what other movies besides Snow Bride is on your DVR list? Like which ones am I
Yeah.
missing then obviously? So I want to know what people's like is there like a top 10? Do people have like a how many movies can a DVR hold?
I have a lot. I don't know how many I have, but I have a lot.
Okay,
But
well then we
that would be a fun episode for the podcast one of these
yeah, like
days
a
too.
DVR list, right? But also
Yeah.
like what's the top 3 that I might be missing out as a
Yeah.
newbie Hallmark. I'm a newbie Hallmarker, but it's been like how many years have we been doing this now? Like 2, and I'm still a newbie
Yeah.
because I've only seen like 20 movies.
Well, yeah, let us know what you think of the different things we talked about. What do you think of the relationships in this movie? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Alysa, where can people find you?
Oh, well, someplace new. So I have a couple different podcasts. So the one that I usually talk about is Best Forevers, which is all about friendship, both the light and dark side of friendship. I have a true crime podcast called Fatalities, and I have a new podcast coming out called Unrequited, which is about crushes, heartache, and heartbreak, which I'm sure many of us have had some of those via our TV viewing, like Hallmark. But instead of having 90,000 different social media accounts, I merged them all into one. It was formerly Best Forevers. It's now Friends with Alysa. And so on Twitters, it's Friends W Alysa, so Friends with Alysa. And then you can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, webpage, Patreon. Like everything is now Friends with Alysa.
Okay, good. I'm glad
So
you told me that. I'll make
yes.
sure to change it in the
Oh yes.
description. Yeah.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Yes, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So where people like to be mad at me for my review. But yeah, check it out. I would really appreciate it. I have family movie night every Monday. So if you like family movie reviews, check it out over there. And then also make sure you're following us at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We sure appreciate, especially those 5-star reviews. And just check out, make sure to check out Elisa's podcast and give them ratings as well.
Thanks.
And yes. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that a lot. We also have our patron group, which is so much fun. If you're not a
Woo!
member, it's only $2 a month to join. If you're not a member, you're really missing out. Last month, we had our Q&A with Mary Lou Henner, legend. That was incredible.
Ah, amazing.
Yes, you should join.
Amazing. Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, and then this upcoming month in May, we're really excited because we are going to have Michael Damian, the director of The Christmas Waltz, on our
What?
show, and we're actually gonna be watching it live with I
Oh,
mean, like, when it's on Hallmark Channel on the 14th, and it's gonna be super fun.
that's
Uh
amazing.
so a lot we really try to make it worth your while. It's really cheap to join and we sure appreciate it. So check that out. We also have our merch store which has tons of fun Hallmark inspired merch. So check that out. And thanks so much. This is so much fun.
Yay.
And Merry Christmas in May. Yay.
Yes, Merry Christmas and a
Bye
Happy
everyone.
New Year.
Yes. Bye everyone.
Bye.